All right, and start behaving. Don't say anything inappropriate.
There's a good one tweeted in that. My video won't work.
What do you mean? What do you mean a video?
Still.
Would you think? I've been like, wow, that is
It's that video. It's
No, seriously, my video won't work. There it is.
there you are, Spring. You are there. Oh my, well, what
Click it over and over again.
What the hell? Why am
Because we need a new site.
Let's call a meeting to order.
I had to click it over and over and over again, and then it worked.
So I have some pledge of allegiance.
It's not working.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
Present. Here.
Here.
Here. So first up would be to approve the meeting minutes of June 13th and June 20th.
I'll move that.
There it is.
I'll move them.
I'll move that. Second it.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And Rick, did you need to get out of here or, because your stuff is just the resolutions, right?
I got the resolution, just a few things I just wanted to report about.
Okay, because we have a presentation first. Is that gonna work for you? Okay. So first up, then we have a presentation from Grace. Yep. Yeah, sure. Just grab a seat right over there and then. She's from the CSI.
Community Science Institute.
Yep.
Very cool.
So what, not the TV show.
Well, sort of thing,
Well, you know,
just with water.
people in Zoom say that it's hard to hear, so if you can keep the mic close to you,
Mhm.
that'll help the people in the audience,
Perfect.
virtual audience.
So this is a. Scheiden mantle.
Mantle.
Well, thanks for coming.
Of course, thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be in one of my favorite towns in the Cuba Lake watershed, and I promise I don't say that to every town that I give this presentation to. Okay, so it's a privilege to be here to talk to you about the work that we do at Community Science Institute to serve the Cuba Lake watershed and specifically the town of Dryden. For those of you who aren't familiar with Community Science Institute, we're a 501(c)(3) nonprofit and also a New York State Department of Health Environmental Laboratory Approval Program, or ELAP, certified water testing lab. Our mission is to foster and support environmental monitoring in partnership with community-based volunteer groups in order to better understand our shared natural resources and how to manage them for long-term sustainability and protection. You might know CSI for our water quality monitoring, but there's actually three main types of programs that we offer. One of them is volunteer water monitoring partnerships, but we also offer fee-for-service water testing, and we do outreach and education about water science. I'll start by talking about our volunteer water monitoring partnerships. At CSI, we have 4 different monitoring programs: our synoptic stream and lake monitoring program, our biomonitoring or benthic macroinvertebrate monitoring program, our harmful algal bloom monitoring program on Cayuga Lake, and our red flag monitoring program. Between these 4 programs, we recruit, train, and coordinate over 250 local volunteers. I'm only going to focus today on these first 2 programs, but if you have questions about the others, I will be happy to answer those. I'm focusing on these first 2 because they're the 2 that are active within the town of Dryden. The first up is our synoptic stream and lake monitoring partnership. This is our longest running program, and in fact, it started on Fallen Virgil Creek in 2002, and several of our volunteers, like David pictured here, have been doing the monitoring with us since then, so over 20 years. The purpose of this program is to produce regulatory quality stream and lake water chemistry data that can inform water resource management decisions, as well as keep the public informed on the state of their local water resources. So I mentioned at the beginning that we're an ELAP certified lab. That and the fact that we have a quality assurance project plan for this program means that our data are considered regulatory quality, so can be used for management purposes or litigation. In this program, our volunteers are specifically monitoring the water for nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen, sediment, bacteria, salt, and other water quality indicators. The way this program works is volunteers work in teams to collect samples from their designated stream, usually 3 times each year, and then they bring those water samples to CSI for analysis. In the town of Dryden, we're doing a lot of monitoring with these volunteers. They're monitoring Fallen Virgil Creek, as I mentioned, which has the largest drainage area of any of the Cayuga Lake tributaries, so a very important one to keep an eye on. We also do monitoring on Cascadilla Creek and 6 Mile Creek. Altogether, our volunteers are monitoring 14 different locations for water chemistry and bacteriology in the town of Dryden. If you want to see more of that data, if you'd like to dig into it yourself, we make all of that data publicly available on our free water quality database. Our database currently holds over 85,000 regulatory measurements of water quality. And not only can you view on our database where the data are being collected, you can also view trends in water quality across space and across time. Next, I'd like to tell you about our biomonitoring program. I was trained as a biologist, so this is one of my favorite programs. In this program, volunteers go out into our local streams and collect samples of benthic macroinvertebrates or stream bugs so that we can determine the ecological and the long-term health of our streams, while also helping our community become connected to the just incredible biodiversity that we have here in our local streams. After the volunteers collect their samples out in the field, they then have the opportunity to work in the lab to sift through samples and identify the organisms. What they're looking for when they're sifting through those samples of bugs is to determine these different metrics. And I won't go through all of them, they're pretty technical, but in short, we're trying to see how many different families of these organisms exist and how tolerant are those different families to pollution. We take all those numbers together and we get what we call a biological assessment profile, which is basically just a summary. And that number can then be translated to the scale that you see here. It's kind of like a stoplight color system of non-impacted, which would be the healthiest, to severely impacted, which would be the least healthy. These data too are available on our website, not on our database, but still available in a really nice PDF form. In the town of Dryden, we also have several biomonitoring sites, specifically on Fallen Virgil Creek, Cascadilla Creek, and 6 Mile Creek. And I'd like to bring your attention to this site down here in the corner at German Cross Road. This site is unique because it's one of the few sites in our program that has been monitored every single year since our program started in 2011. Usually with the biomonitoring sites, they're not monitored as regularly, but we have a very dedicated team of local volunteers who actually sift through these samples in their kitchen. It's very cool. This site's biological assessment profile, or that summary value of how healthy it is, tends to fluctuate between non-impacted and slightly impacted. Okay, so I've told you a little bit about our volunteer water monitoring partnerships. I'd like to use the rest of the time to talk about the other two facets of CSI. Next up is our fee-for-service water testing. So at CSI, as we're an ELAP certified lab, we're able to test water from not just our volunteer programs, but also from folks in our community. So we're testing water from private wells, municipal water systems, swimming beaches, effluent. If it's some kind of water, we've tested it before. To give you an idea of the volume of samples we deal with every year, just last year, our lab tested more than 2,500 drinking water samples. We serve in our community residents, so home sales. These water tests are required for a home sale. Maybe for folks who are doing routine testing, the health department does recommend that folks test their well water for basic potability every year. And we also work with folks who might be experiencing health concerns, maybe the taste of their water has changed, or they're noticing corrosion in their appliances. We work with them to figure out what would be the best thing for them to test for, rather than trying to make a huge profit selling them a bunch of tests they don't need. We also serve local businesses, especially a lot of local businesses who have mandatory testing requirements from the DEC or the DOH. Those are folks like farms, restaurants, mobile home parks, apartment buildings, and daycares as well. And finally, we also serve government agencies. So the Tompkins County Health Department is one of our longtime regular clients. We work with New York State Parks to test the swimming beach water every week during the season. And we also work with DEC. We help them do the fluoridone testing for the treatment of hydroa in Cayuga Lake. Okay, now that you've learned a little bit about the testing services we offer, I'd like to tell you about the third part of CSI, which is our outreach and education about water science. One of our shining gems of outreach and education is our Journey of Water Summer Youth Education series. This is a totally free program for kids and their families in our community, and it goes throughout the summer. And it's an opportunity for kids to learn about water science through hands-on activities. So in this picture here, kids are sifting through those samples of benthic macroinvertebrates streamside. They get the chance to literally get their feet wet, learning about water quality. We also take them on Discover Cayuga Lake's boat to collect water samples from the lake. And that data then end up in our database as part of our monitoring programs. And the kids also get to go do tours of the drinking water facilities that we have here locally at Bolton Point and in the city of Ithaca. And they also get to do tours of the wastewater treatment facility in Ithaca, which kids love, learning about where the things in the toilet go once they flush them. If you have kiddos in your life, I highly recommend signing up for some of these programs. We also do outreach and education for grown-ups, not just kids. We put out an annual water bulletin newsletter each year, and it's written for a general audience. So you don't have to be a scientist to understand what's in here. We aim to make the language as accessible as possible so that folks can benefit from learning about water quality locally. And finally, we also have a number of free learning materials on our website. What I have pictured here is a water quality indicator fact sheet. This is a whole series that we're working on completing, and it helps put the data that we collect into context. So if somebody wasn't sure, what is phosphorus? What is chloride? And why do you monitor that? Why is it important? These are things that folks can learn from these fact sheets. So today I told you about the 3 types of programming that CSI offers. Our volunteer water monitoring partnerships, and specifically the work that we're doing to monitor water quality in the town of Dryden. I've told you about our fee-for-service water testing, so maybe if next time you need to have your well water tested, you'll know where to go, 95 Brown Road by the airport. And we also do outreach and education about water science to folks in our community of all ages. And now if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
No question, you guys do streams. Do you also do testing in the wetlands?
We do not do testing in the wetlands, but we are potentially going to be moving in that direction because we just hired 2 new people recently who are wetland enthusiasts.
Okay.
As part of our Journey of Water program, we just introduced a new event into that series called Wild Wetlands Fantastic Filters, where we teach the kids about how wetlands are natural filters and they get to build their own filters and try it out, make different hypotheses about what will work and what won't.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, Grayson. Thanks for your presentation. We're a big town in your watershed area that you monitor, so I think we've always felt almost an obligation to support CSI because of our impact on the watershed. Curious, what sort of trends you have seen in your monitoring of streams in the town of Dryden, and what things are changing?
Yeah, so in the town of Dryden, I'm going to go back to that map that shows the different sites, just so we can orient ourselves. So in the town of Dryden, when we're talking about 6 Mile Creek, it tends to be one of the healthiest streams in the watershed, particularly these sites that you have here in the headwaters. We actually use the Spur Creek location as a reference site for like one of the healthiest sites in the watershed. Fall and Virgil Creek are also relatively healthy watersheds as well. We do sometimes see in the Dryden Lake Park area, sometimes higher nutrients and sediments, but that's likely because of the lake itself there. Let me see what else. Cascadilla Creek headwaters also tends to be a relatively healthy site. We do see in the headwaters, this is outside of the town of Dryden, but relevant because the water flows downstream. These 2 sites, Tillotson Road Culvert and Champlin Road Culvert, upstream of the town of Dryden, tend to have very, very high phosphorus levels and E. coli levels. And we've been in contact with Soil and Water Conservation District. They're doing some work in that area to try to resolve that issue.
How would you say a town like ours impacts HABs? And I know that a lot is to be learned about harmful algal blooms, but I'm curious what a rural farming town you should know about its impact on HABs. Have you been able to tease out any sort of,
Yeah, good question. So harmful algal blooms are caused by not just one thing, but a multitude of things happening at once. So one of them is global climate change, things heating up, cyanobacteria, which make up harmful algal blooms, grow best at temperatures above 20 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Also, weather conditions in terms of wind has an impact. The other thing is zebra mussels and quagga mussels in the lake. They like to eat zooplankton and phytoplankton, but they don't like to eat cyanobacteria. So they're losing some of their competitors. And the one I saved for last is the one that you can have the biggest impact on, which is nutrients also cause the growth of cyanobacteria. So making sure that we're keeping as much nutrients as possible out of the lake, and so out of our streams that then run into the lake, is one of the best things that you can do. And in fact, even though there's all of those other factors that contribute to HABs, when I've spoken to folks at the DEC about it, they say the only thing that they have found that works is reducing nutrient loading. It's the thing that you have the most tangible of an impact on. It's the easiest thing to tackle. And I think that for folks who have farms, they want to keep their nutrients on the fields too.
Sure.
They don't want them in the stream. They want them on the field. So that's what I would say is the biggest
I'm
impact.
just trying to figure out how that would translate into any sort of town policy. I mean, we can't regulate when manure is spread or,
I would say Tompkins County Soil and Water, the folks who work there do incredible boots on the ground work, working with farmers to find solutions that work for them.
Yeah.
And they're of course not a regulatory agency. They can't obligate anybody to do anything. They can just say, hey, these cover crops will be helpful, or this buffer zone will be helpful. And we can work with you on grants and opportunities to make that happen. So I think support for Tompkins County Soil and Water is like one of the best ways to go.
and stream bank setbacks, not putting our development too close to our streams, I think is something that we do keep in mind for that and many other reasons.
Yeah, that's great, because in many parts of the watershed, we're seeing chloride concentrations increase, and the amount of impervious surface near streams tends to be related to chloride concentrations.
So is that something that we would definitely want to include when we're reviewing our zoning updates? would be
Yeah, I mean,
distance
it's,
streams
it's-
or.
And it's something or something we review and we get a proposal to make sure that they have an adequate buffer.
yeah, and I know some of that was recommended in the report from the rural water.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, because we had New York State rural water.
The drinking water
Drinking water.
protection plan.
Yeah. So that, which did that get folded into the, like, an appendix for the comp plan? I can't remember.
We accepted it at the board level, but I don't think it's in a part of the
Yeah.
comp plan.
So we would use that in conjunction with their work, I think, to do this.
Well, I think it's great you're getting out and doing this in our town, and I hope you visit all the other municipalities that should be supporting you if they're not.
Yeah, I was just at the town of Caroline last night, and I'll be at town of Ithaca on Monday, so this is part of my Tompkins County tour.
Very good.
That's good. And a question I had is because we're coming into normal budget request time and normally you send it to us in August. Just what, like what kind of, how, I mean, expenses for everybody keep going up, but how has that affected your like testing needs? Yeah, because, it's not the, like, you know, the one I was able to find like 2022, they requested roughly 11,500. So I know it was more for this year, but how much of like cost increases impacting what you're able to do?
Yeah, that is a really good question. So in 2023, I mapped out how much it was costing us to do specifically the Synoptic program, because that's mostly where we put the funds from the town of Dryden. What it was costing us versus the money we were getting from local governments to support it. And we had a very significant deficit. So in 2024, we decided to make some changes to the monitoring program. So for example, we used to monitor Fall and Virgil Creek and 6 Mile Creek and the Cuga Inlet, which includes Cascadilla Creek 4 times a year. We've cut that back to 3 times a year, and that saved us about $40,000 just doing that. So we're trying to be much more mindful about where we're putting that money. We've also adjusted some of the sites. So a really good example is actually on this map. These 2 sites in the town of Dryden, Yellow Barn Road and Midline Road, they're very close to each other. And so I took a look at the data to see, is it really all that different? They weren't. So I talked to the volunteers and I said, which one is the most accessible location? And we decided to eliminate the Yellow Barn Road site because of that. So by doing things like that, being really mindful about where we're monitoring, we're trying to keep up with the fact that costs of lab supplies are just astronomical these days, and try to match the monitoring better to fit with the funding that we have available, because we understand that small towns have small budgets and the burden should not be all on the towns to contribute. We do have funding also from Tompkins County as well, which helps to subsidize, but the rest, that fee for service water testing I mentioned, that's really helping us fill in the gaps in the monitoring.
But the lab supplies is where your big costs are.
Actually, it's mostly personnel.
Normally, it usually is. That's why I was, okay.
Yeah, personnel is the biggest cost because we have a lab, so we have to have professional scientists working for us.
Are your rates for testing, since you're a nonprofit, lower than commercial testing?
They generally tend
Yeah.
to be, if you were to compare it to some of the other labs around, like Life Science Laboratories in Syracuse or Microbac. However, we have to be able to pay for the cost of the test. So a basic potability test, the test I mentioned that the health department recommends once a year, is $50. We are in the process of coming up with a pilot for a water testing assistance fund for folks who might not be able to afford the full cost of testing. We're working out some of the logistics about how that would work and how that would look, because $50 is more than half of the cost of groceries from the Tompkins County Living Wage study. So we recognize it's not accessible to everybody. So we're coming up with solutions to that.
Okay.
We do commercial water testing,
Commercial water testing, like what?
or we have a Yellow Barn Water District that we have to have. We obviously have some water samples to use microbat right now.
Yeah.
And not very successful.
Yeah.
Put it that way. That's something.
Let's use that.
Yeah, so feel free to reach out to us. We are not certified in everything, but we do partner with Life Science Laboratories in Syracuse, so anything we can't do, we would subcontract it out to them.
I think it's gonna be mobile home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's a small one.
yeah, we work with a lot of mobile home parks for their water testing.
yeah, it's, yeah, Yellow Barn's probably about, I mean, I don't know, yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Good to us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for what you do.
That brings us to Rick. Memories.
We've been doing a lot of the normal stuff. We got a lot of paving done. The roads that we did pave, we've now put some shoulders on. All that's going very well. I also would like to get, let me see what going on. I need a resolution. You guys all should have. The what it's for is we purchased the 1-ton dually. We finally got that in. Now I just need to put the dump box, the sander, and the plows on. I also have a new Chevy pickup truck that we're gonna put a plow on. That's pretty much covers the whole resolution.
I'll move it.
Second,
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Dam mowing is pretty well done. We finished that up today. A lot of the bank, we couldn't do some of the banks because it's deteriorating a little bit, so we were told not to touch them. We may have to go out hydro seed them after they do our inspection here shortly. We've done a lot of tree cleanup. Last month, it's been a lot of issues with that, but the chip reserved its way. The rail trail, we've been painting, staining bridges, mowing it, clearing trees off it. I had stopped in and we talked to Jason tonight. We had a little incident over on Dutcher Road during our paving. There was a police car chase. They ended up coming into our work zone. Car was coming at our paver at about 100 miles an hour. And Mike DeMoyer, one of the roller operators, luckily saw what was happening, pulled the roller in front of the car so it didn't kill our guys.
Hmm.
So I was gonna have Jason, you guys would just write something up. Thank Mike DeMoyer for what he did. You guys could all sign it. And just
yeah.
I don't think I could drive into one of these things, but something that maybe, I could present to him.
Yeah.
We'll have a lunch down at the shop or something, just give him something. If that's not.
He saw this happening and he moved the roller.
Yeah, he screamed to the guys, but with the paver running, the truck's backing up, you really can't hear anything. He watched the guy come around the corner and the guy was in the cops and tested that he was doing over 100. He went, he came down Sims Hill Road, and when he went across Dutcher Road, he was about 8 foot in the air.
Yeah.
Took our closed sign, with cones, and got down the other end, that's where we were. And Mike saw him coming. And put the roller across the road, ran him off the road.
Ran him off the road.
Yeah.
So he was apprehended after that.
Well, after he ran through the woods and got to North Road, jumped on a car. Which happened to be one of my employees' stepdaughters was driving down the road, and the guy jumped on her hood. And she was trying to brake check him off the car, he scratched the roof, the sides, the windshield, the hood, and made a mess of the car. But they got him, but the cops got to him and arrested.
Oh.
That's the
Yeah.
one, I think Jason saw the article. It was.
Yeah, when you told me about, because this is the press release from the sheriff's department, but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Luckily, Mike was thinking,
Cortica,
they could have been real ugly. Yeah, that was what was in. the
this is
document.
the Cortica today,
Oh, yeah. I saw that story. I didn't realize
so. Yeah,
the rest of it. Well, Dutcher Road looks great.
Oh,
Nice job, nice and smooth.
Did you notice how we have the shoulders out? We just did that yesterday or today, yeah. So,
I was just on it.
once we get some lines on it, it'll look a lot better and. We got some more paving to do, but, on Sunny Slope, I got some, emails from people up there, very happy with the paving up there, so.
Looks very slick,
Lucky road that around here.
Slick.
in a good way.
We don't want slick roads.
Other than that, that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
The code for all the equipment you're gonna be purchasing.
62, well, no, I see that, I think it's gonna be less than that.
All right,
It's good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
and,
Very glad everybody's
yeah,
safe.
Rick, and I don't know, I'll have, I mean, David's on for his report, David Maycar, he'll be over Zoom, so yeah, I gotta get you guys together, so we can get,
Yes,
so.
I was looking at the plot.
Yeah, and yeah, he lives over on, well, Caroline, in the Brooklandale area.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yep, cause he's over here a lot, I know that.
All right, you guys have a good night.
Yep.
You too.
Ray, is there?
Yes, you have the regular monthly update and that's up on the web too. I just want to talk about a couple of things on there. The one, the ISO rating, which we haven't had done for the building safety program since 2016. They came through in the last few months and have re-rated and we lowered our rating from 4 to 3. So that can only help in the insurance rates there. Another thing I want to talk about is that our $500,000 CDBG grant we got for home rehab, but
I just ask a question, is that townwide?
Yeah.
Okay,
the $500,000 community CDBG grant we got for home rehabilitation that we're partnering with INHS and they have the first 5 homes in the works for that program. We're aiming to get to more than a dozen homes. But there's more room for applicants and applications are available both on the website and there are forms right in our lobby here at Town Hall. And then the last thing I'll talk about that is not on the monthly update is that the Safe Streets for All program is doing a public outreach meeting. They're going to a few sites in the Ithaca Farmers Market, Trumansburg Farmers Market, and Newfield Old Home Days. But then they do have one online meeting that's on July 24th at 6 p.m. And that information is also on our website, as well as posted in the lobby. That's all I have.
any idea about the process? I mean, we have to have a local match with that sidewalk grant.
Yeah, the scope has not been fully decided. These are sidewalks in the vicinity of Bahar Drive down Route 13 out Mott and out Enterprise connecting over to the high school. So that's the whole district that's meant to address. We're going to be meeting with the village to decide on the exact scope. Yeah, probably half of the sidewalks are within the town, so $2 million worth of work in the town. That would be a $400,000 match. But also this is in the vicinity and definitely in service of the build out of Ezra Village. So it is probably going to be a negotiation with them as to how much they can contribute towards the sidewalks, since this is they're creating a tremendous clientele for these new sidewalks. So they should be participating in that.
Yeah, so it's a $400,000 match split between the town and the village.
No, just the town share would be 400. Because it's a 80-20 and it's a $4 million grant, roughly half of it is the town, yeah.
Right. Right. Okay, so that's something we might have to budget for in next year's budget.
Okay.
Right, thanks.
Chris, did you have? Oh, did you have more?
Nope.
So I sent you all a few emails, copied you on probably quite a few more that I sent to the fire departments. I guess open to any questions that anybody has.
Sorry, I was like looking, because they're all talking about. You said the two of them, one was this, the. Some of the psychologically healthy fire department article, yeah, there's that, and then there was the. Thing about the. For the engineering magazine, yeah.
Yeah. It so happened this month's edition had a lot of very timely articles of interest to
Yes.
town fire departments.
Thank you for forwarding those on.
Yeah, does anybody have any question or anything? No, I think we're okay then.
Okay, then.
Yeah, it's cool. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. So, yep, Dave, we're all set. Whenever you're ready.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good evening,
We
David.
can hear you.
Yeah,
Is it all right if I share my screen?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I shared a copy of the July 2024 report. Should have that in your packet.
We got a little more volume.
Yeah.
We need to hear you a little bit better. We're trying to turn up here.
All right. Is that better? Can you hear me now? Nothing.
Not when you're not talking.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I mean,
Yes,
Oh, good. So this is the second slide of the deck. I'm really just going to cover 3 of the slides tonight. This is the executive summary. Everything that's in here is covered a little bit deeper in the presentation, but this is the highlights from the last month of Dryden Fiber. So a little less than a month ago, we had our big press event. It was Monday, June 24th. Lots and lots of coverage. We had some great guests in town for the kickoff. Lots of media coverage and a resulting huge influx of inbound leads for the platform. The next big event on the calendar was on July 8th. So about 10 days ago, we had our kickoff with New York State CAO. CAO is the Connect All office. Talk about the timelines and the milestones, everything, payment schedules, communications. So we were aligned with them. And that kickoff includes both Town of Dryden, Town of Caroline, and Dryden Fiber, as well as that team from New York State, make sure they're on track. This is to help track and monitor and implement the $8.9 million grant that we received last month that goes from now through the end of 2026, which is that third bullet. So we had a follow-up meeting just a couple days ago on Tuesday, and every Tuesday from now, currently until the end of the time period of this, which is 30 months. So I don't even know, like 150 meetings from now or something. We're gonna meet with New York State to keep on track and make sure that the $9 million that they're contributing to the project and the $1 million that we're contributing is on track to reach that deadline. Currently, Jason and Dan are invited to those meetings on behalf of the town board, so they'll also be able to give some direct insight weekly on the project. As for construction in the last month, continuing massive expansion throughout this summer, really focusing on the densely populated areas, the village of Dryden and the village of Freeville, which will double the number of homes with access to Dryden fiber. Ultimately, by the end of August, we should be at over 1,000 parcels. As of this report, which was July 1st, we're able to serve 425 parcels. That's out of a total of 6,000 parcels in the town. So we're not even at 10%. And every day we're adding more fiber, getting closer to adding more parcels. And about once every 10 days, we're lighting up the map with new homes in the green zone. As of July 1st, 54 paying customers, which is an increase of 9 in the month of June. Since in the month of June, we had 65 inbound requests, and already this month in July, we've had 35 inbound requests. So that was as of about 10 minutes ago when I checked. So we're on track to do about 70 new inbound requests this month, on top of the 65 we had last month. One thing that is different is most of those inbound requests are in the green zone. People who could sign up and can actually get the service within 2 weeks. Other things, we had, as of July 1st, 9 customers in the queue. I believe now we're up to 20 homes in the queue, which will be done either in the next part of July or in early August, with a total of 70 customers by August 1st and about 100 by the end of the summer. So full steam ahead, definitely accelerating as we hit these more populated areas. And there was a map update yesterday. So if you're following Dryden Fiber either on Facebook or on Instagram, you'll see those updates. We post those up and instantly we get a positive response from people. And right after that, inbound request for service. Any questions on the executive summary? Great. I just want to touch base on some of the media coverage that you may have seen, or maybe you haven't seen all of this, which is the next slide in the packet. These are everything that came through as of July 10th, since the announcement on June 21st. So I believe it was 11 different media pickups. There were a few other ones yesterday. I was on WHCU, and probably tomorrow, depending on the weather, there's also going to be a 5-minute interview with Syracuse.com. They just keep bumping that one because of all the other news, mostly weather topical news that's been happening the last 10 days. We did a tally on media coverage to look at the reach, and this is estimates based on populations for some of these media outlets and also direct messaging from these media outlets about their reach and their coverage. So a rough estimate is that in that 3-week period from the announcement, over 1 million impressions for Dryden Fiber's award of that $8.9 million. So tons of really positive, free, ultimately free coverage for the project.
I know this is a silly question, but I think people are I've heard a number of positive notes about the announcement that the grant includes Dryden Fiber supporting the town of Caroline's internet, getting the word out there. Any thoughts on how or how we help communicate that so that it's Dryden Fiber, people know in the town of Caroline that they may be able to see support as well in the future? Just point them to the website, or I don't know.
Yeah, so town of Caroline was at the announcement, and there are, I believe, some quotes in the press release and just from these media pickups from Mark Whitmer, the town supervisor in Caroline. We've probably already had at least a dozen Caroline residents who've submitted requests for service.
Okay.
And our response right now is we're expecting the first homes to be available on Dryden Fiber in the town of Caroline in about a year, sometime around July 1st of 2025. The steering committee, which is members of the town board for Dryden, so Dan and Jason, as well as representatives from town of Caroline, as well as the engineering team from Hunt, as well as Amanda from our team and myself. We're meeting about once every 2 to 3 weeks as a steering committee for the project to get alignment around how are we going to best message this to the town of Caroline. let them know, like, get excited, sign up for it, but also be patient because we're in the very early process, which is the permitting. And actually even before that, which is surveying the telephone poles to know where we want to submit the permit requests. Once those get approved in really 6 to 8 months, then start doing construction and then start to add those parcels to the green zone to the map.
Thank
So
you.
that team will be strategizing, and we actually have a meeting next Wednesday in person at Town Hall to start to think about how we're going to talk about this with respect to the town of Caroline.
David, do you want to mention the grant that you hustled to get together on Monday?
Yeah, about 3 weeks ago, we heard about a capacity building grant, also through Connect All Office. The state has a few $1 million, not as big as they did for the entire MIP project. The idea is to help support these broadband initiatives that need help with capacity. So we applied for the maximum amount, which is $150,000 over 2 years to help pay for, ultimately it's for labor, where the MIP grant is really focused on construction. This is to help pay for administration, finance, billing, marketing, and the executive work that I'm doing. We submitted it on Monday. They should be turning that around pretty quickly. I think within 30 days, we should hear back from them. Caroline also applied for this, so it'll help with some of the cost of the labor of doing the work and running the project. And we feel pretty good from what we've done so far on the project that we have a good story to tell about receiving this funding too.
I'm just gonna blow your horn a little bit more. I don't think we would have gotten that grant in without you. I don't think we would have had the awareness or the wherewithal, the capacity. So, and I don't think Caroline would have either. And so you oversaw a quick effort and we made the deadline.
Yeah, it's it's part of the job. It's kind of wrangling and working really closely with Amanda and Ryan Garrison from Hunt Engineering to say, hey, here's what we need to do. Here's a deadline. Let's get this done. We were able to get letters of support from Tompkins County, as well as from the state assembly and state Senate representatives. That should also help. It's worth 10% to the total 100% of the points for this system. So we checked all the boxes that were required to put in a good application. And Dan helped out a lot with getting those letters, those support letters from those representatives. So right back at you, Dan.
Well, yeah, so I mean, but it's great that you're after money to even pay for your own salary.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, ultimately, the question that at least the media has is like, how quickly until Dryden Fiber can start to lower the cost even more. So at $45 a month for our lowest tier, which is still 4 times faster than our primary competitor, and $45 is already probably half of what people are paying most often for that service. When can we lower it? And the answer is we need people to sign up, we need to pay monthly, and as they pay monthly, we'll be able to pay down the cost of the construction. And once we have, once we're no longer paying for the construction costs, and we can just focus on paying the monthly operational costs, then we can decide, do we lower the monthly fee? All things are in play, like the inflation and cost of all the parts of running the operation, but ultimately the New York State grant speeds up our break-even timeline substantially. I mean, we were thinking this is a $15 million project 5 years ago, probably a $20 million project now, just because of inflation over the last 5 years, and having New York State pay for 9 million of that 20 million just reduces the timeline right away. We add in Caroline's part, building out Caroline as part of this Dryden Fiber project is another 6 million. So now we're talking like a $26 million project. And there are going to be other opportunities for us as we look for other parts of the town that are not covered. That FCC had the data wrong on underserved and unserved homes, and other ways to continue to reduce the overhead.
I saw Dryden School District listed on the report. Is TC3 going to be eligible too?
TC3 is, there have been some meetings with them, and we're due to touch base with them in the fall. They are probably more limited by the technology than the fiber that we can provide them. We can provide them very fast speeds, like 10 gig, which is what they would need. And they have to do some server upgrades on their side to be able to take the speeds that we can offer them. We would become one of multiple providers for them. I believe they already have at least 2, if not 3 providers, which for the institution that they are, with the amount of remote students, professors, faculty, they need to have multiple ways to get fiber in. So we are working with them. With the Dryden School, we believe that we can service them, but there is one hiccup, and that is we believe all 4 buildings would want to be on the same network. No problem for Dryden High School, no problem for the elementary school in the village of Dryden, no problem for Freeville. The challenge is that the elementary school in McLean is not in the town of Dryden. So could we run Dryden fiber north into the town of Groton to bring them online? That's right now what we're looking at as the potential limitation on servicing the entire school district.
Mhm. Yeah,
So we're early in the conversation with them. We want to make sure we can get to all 4 of the buildings first.
Why would that be a barrier if we have that that state law allowing us to go across municipal boundaries?
It's probably more of a, does the town want to be crossing town line? Because we have received requests from town of Virgil, town of Ithaca, and town of Richford in the last 10 days. People want Dryden fiber. And do we want to take our focus off of building out in the town of Dryden and start to reach outside? And with that, with the Cassavant School being outside of the town, we want to branch off in that direction before we finish in Dryden.
yeah. Now, we had one of the folks in the audience here had a question.
Not so much a question, and I want to re-celebrate what we talked about this time on 23rd. By the time this got presented at the last meeting, the meeting was almost over, and it is a great thing that you guys have all come to, so kudos once again. This was, I mean, I can echo what you guys have said, and everyone wins with that.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for
Yeah, thanks. We'd like to hear that. It's been a long time and
Yeah, I know.
it's pretty exciting right now. Like Dave said, we're poised for some pretty fast growth.
Yeah.
It sounded like that was a positive statement, although I didn't really hear anything. If you want, I can just show you the project highlights map before we go on to the one request I have for this month. So as a reminder, this is the project outline. The square at the top is down in Dryden. The blue line is the existing network, which is the ring that goes around Route 13. The other parts of blue that branch off of that are already permit requested, so we'll be building those next. And the purple dots are all the service locations that are covered by the MIP grant. The red lines will be proposed network heading south into the town of Caroline. We don't yet have permits for those locations in the town of Dryden. We have started surveying to know exactly which telephone poles we would be on, or which roads you'd have to go under or over. And then into Caroline, you see all the dots and places where we would build a network. If you counted all those purple dots, you wouldn't be able to because it's kind of blurry, but it's about 2,600 homes that we reach with this project. Yeah, the other thing I put in the packet is a request for some support from marketing. It's a local resource. It's a vendor named Coil Creative. They're based in Tompkins County. I'm going to put that on the screen. You should be able to see it. The owner is Kyle Jensen, and the objective here is to help as we've greatly increased what we were planning on doing this year. Because when I joined the team, it was really focused on doing this at a slightly different speed without the focus on managing the MIP grant itself. So this is a request for not to exceed $1,500 a month for marketing support with a focus on social media, email marketing, and a few other components to help with managing the messaging as it goes out for Dryden Fiber.
Can you page down on that?
Yeah, it should be in your packet too.
Yeah, I know.
scope. The deliverables, email marketing to prospects and customers. Currently, we have over 550 people who've signed up for Dryden Fiber. And around 70 of those, 55 are currently paying customers as of July 1st. We expect about 70 of them to be paying by August 1st. We want to be able to use email marketing to communicate directly with those customers, the way you might get emails from other providers, other people that you spend money with, just on monthly cadence to let them know what's going on. They are ultimately one of our best sources of new customers because they're happy customers who want to communicate with them. But we also have another 450 people that we have emails from, want to communicate with them and let them know what's going on with the network, where we're going, what's coming next. They should also tell their friends. Tell them about the features and if they're on the fence, why they should sign up and do that. Second, social media. We've seen a lot of positive results from posting on social media, from shares and likes to just posting things and then immediately getting inbound requests for service.
So will this be based on the hours he puts in, or are you gonna offer him some?
Yeah,
sort-
the hourly rate is $75 an hour. It's a budget of 20 hours per month, which is about 5 hours per week. And it will be working together to track the hours. It's not just like, we're not just going to pay $15 a month. It's not a retainer. He'll track hours, submit them for payment. And it's not to exceed 1,500.
Just so we're doing our due diligence, why did you pick him?
I looked around and it was located in Tompkins County, and the other two providers I looked at just way more expensive, like $75 $75 an hour is a deal for this type of work. The other quotes were like 150 and 200, and minimums like I won't do less than 150 an hour for 25 or 30 hours a month. Talking like I want $3,000 to $5,000 to start. And I was like, we don't need that. We just need on times when there's a lot of work, we need a little bit of extra help. He's got a lot of other things he's working on as a business. He's got other customers, so he's not relying on us as his only customer. And that made it feel like this is a good fit for us.
Yeah. Okay.
So he'll work under your guidance. He's not going to be attending, say, like broadband meetings and things like that.
No,
No.
just to kind of offshore some stuff that I did in the last 12 months. So like Kyle can go work on this, get it loaded, get it up and running. Just kind of a bandwidth thing. Also, just help have another marketer to bounce ideas off of, like strategies and some things about how we can make this grow faster, more efficiently. That's that third part of the marketing strategy. Spend like an hour a month. Like, what are things that we're not thinking of that he's seen that are working with other B2C initiatives he's running?
You can share that report that my students did on marketing.
Definitely
Yeah.
will.
All
The other
right.
thing that to keep in mind with that grant we submitted on Monday, we did request funding for marketing support.
Okay.
As part of our org chart, so like to really grow this, it's not just hope that people show up, hope that people see the press releases, but actually have some structure to our marketing campaign to really get out there. We know we have to be in front of people up to 7 different times for them to even click that it exists, help them know if they are in the green zone, what that means, and that they can sign up. So in that grant request, we put in some funding for marketing support too.
Okay.
I'm looking at LinkedIn page right now. Looks solid.
So that's my request for today, is that the board approves that we can start working with Pyle from Coil Creative and
then
to scale this part.
Yeah, and then I would just need the board's permission, permission to allow me to sign the agreement, and I can just ask Nate to take a quick look at it, but otherwise I think it'll be fine.
All right, do we need a reso or do we need to do?
Yeah, we need a resolution to, pending. What's allow me to sign this on behalf of the town.
Authorizing you to sign a marketing agreement.
Yep.
With Kyle Jensen.
I saw it.
Yeah, I mean, I did. Not
Oh,
sure.
here.
There's a copy of it in the meeting documents, if you need a copy.
Yeah, so-
It's number 10.
Has he already started work?
No.
Yeah.
Could it be like
seems
August
pretty-
1st and?
Yeah, oh, the date, yeah, this is just when he submitted. We can, if we need to update it, we can just say as of August 1st, when I redline it.
Say that again? What-
If you want to redline it to say as of August 1st, that's fine.
Yeah,
Change that doc to say August 1st.
okay.
And then it just continues until we don't need them anymore.
Yes.
So it's a. Yeah, they can look at it. Yeah, I just say just let me throw it run it by Nate real quick, just if there's anything in there that has to. But upon his approval, I'll sign it. I'll send it to him tomorrow.
Great. It should be pretty close to the SOW that I submitted a year ago that was approved, if that helps with the process.
It seems like it's like you said, it's a as needed. This is essentially establishing its hourly. And what you're gonna have them do. With a cap per month.
Yeah, not to exceed $1,500 per month.
Okay. Yep, all right, so move that.
Second,
Councilperson Martis Mojo,
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 That's all I have for tonight. As I said, there's meetings every Tuesday at 1 p.m. with the New York State MIP team, the CAO office. And then there are public broadband meetings on the first and third Friday every month, except in the summer when it's the second and fourth Friday. Maybe back to first and third Fridays at 10:30 a.m. Those are on the Dryden website calendar, the public broadband meetings. There's also an operations meeting that meets every other week with the construction installation teams to help keep them focused. And finally, there's a steering committee team meeting, which is our internal meeting that meets once a month to work on the MIP project. So we're spending a lot of time together, keeping things aligned and focused as we work to continue to grow the project as we originally planned, but also under this 30-month timeline with the MIP grant. You're welcome to join us at any of those meetings that makes sense for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, so next up, we'll just go down to. I'm gonna do one addition to 12, but so the 15th, Ray, we have the public hearing.
Yeah, for the 5 and 9 Freeze Road, that's the project, INHS project, corner of Dryden Road and Freeze. And there's a large 11,000 square foot building there that needs a special use permit. For
Okay.
laws concerning specific to violence.
Okay, and did we set a time for that yet, or?
This would be the first hearing that I'm aware of on we could have the village rail trail easements coming back on August 15th, but that would be the second one in.
Yeah, I mean, well, that, I mean, that one probably wouldn't. Well, actually, we have to get that back, so I can't even say
with
anything.
final language on it.
So why don't we just set this one for like. We haven't already set a time, like 6:05.
Perfect.
And. So this other thing, I think everyone might have gotten an email that included. That's from stuff from Nate. So on August 6th, ZBA is hearing. a zone interpretation request about crypto or data center crypto mining type facility. The person requesting the interpretation applied, made an application to claim the building that was denied under our, it's not permitted. If it's not, basically the broad, if it's not permitted, it's prohibited section of it. They asked for it to be considered under the service business,
Yeah,
is that it?
they went for light industry and I refused that. Then they went for service business and I refused that. So now they're asking for an interpretation under the latter.
Yeah, and so. I don't know, a couple of years ago, you probably remember the state banning certain types. But. And looking into this more. There's actually North Tonawanda actually just put a 2-year moratorium on this, I think this week. Because there's a news story from today and sent a magazine called Government Technology. It just came out July 17th, so it'll be yesterday. Reasons they talked about noise is one thing, but then there's other places in New York that, like Plattsburgh, they had issues, and it was also there was tied into energy costs because apparently Plattsburgh gets its energy from a local hydro plant. So I asked Ray and Nate to talk earlier in the week when I saw that email about what's going on with ZBA. I think it was last week you sent that, right?
To the ZBA.
Well, you said I got the packet and I think
Yeah,
just sent it to it came out last week, so I think I forwarded that to everybody. But I asked them at the same time to prepare a local law for moratorium, but we'd have to schedule a special meeting to do that if we're gonna have that in place before August 6th.
Yeah, I mean, my question was about the power consumption. I don't know if can our power lines in the area even hold that, but that wouldn't be with us, right? That would be a nice egg.
Right, that's it.
Right, it's a nice thing, but if they had, like, I mean, the thing is, if they had to, do something to improve the lines, that usually gets spread across the ratepayers. If, depending on, the location they're looking at is in a mixed use commercial, but it's also close to 2 houses. Very close, and then.
With juice, is that a fire hazard? I mean,
I don't know about any of those things, but it seems like, the energy usage thing, I don't even understand if that would affect people in the town. Cause I don't know how all that gets calculated based on. Like, but it's right into the solar panels there, would they, I don't even know if they'd be a subscriber to that, if they could be.
Yeah, I just don't even know what kind of.
So there's a lot of things I just don't know about it, and. Amending our zoning, so. This is some use that hasn't ever come up before. So it seems like to me it would be a time to put that into the study as well, because it's just, I don't know anything about it. And
Yeah, I don't know what kind of building codes they have to handle that kind of
it's heat, noise,
noise, power consumption.
Yep.
To be safe.
and with the climate goals anyway, it would kind of potentially poke a hole in that. So,
What street is it on?
the property is what is that old?
It's the old Quonset hut that's there at George Road and
Oh.
Route 13.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
See that somewhere. Okay.
No, so I don't, again, I don't,
What do we know about the scope of this
Budget.
proposal? How much?
We don't have a lot of dimensional.
right,
We know the size of the building, but I don't know really what size of heat output, what electric demand, what noise output. We don't have a lot of particulars on it.
right. I mean, it might be the kind of thing, if you're gonna allow it, just it wouldn't be somewhere like that. Cause this is the zone is what it is right now, but it's also sandwiched in between two houses.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like one thing if you're talking about like a building away from things, it's in that zone. So,
I'm just worried that the law, this is very broad, and, commercial crypto mining operations and data processing centers. Basically saying anything that falls into a data processing center category is prohibited for the next 18 months. I think we need some sort of parameters on what we're prohibiting and why, because of data and because of energy use or because of. We haven't learned it really anything about this project.
Because we're also inside the technology corridor that the feds have set.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, depending on the sizes.
This
and
is gonna come
things.
up theoretically again.
I just feel, I'm no big fan of cryptocurrency, but I feel like we don't know anything about this project. All right, is this a little bit of an overreaction?
Well, it's a new, I don't know the impacts of such a business.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to be cautious about this. And yeah, there is probably a threshold limit, and that's what we'll probably determine in the next 18 months after the moratorium. Is what is an acceptable level of this industry?
We once had a moratorium on cell towers.
Right.
People don't realize how much we need cell phones.
Well, it makes sense to learn about it because
But if we don't do this, are you saying it could sail through our variance before the process before we can do anything?
That's my concern about it.
It's August 6th, the ZBA will be asked to make an interpretation of whether this is an allowable use. So they can overrule me, or they could table it for further research, or I don't know what.
Okay, let's say they do that and we pass this in September or October. Wouldn't that stop the project or is that too late?
Well, you always get into that question of has the applicant invested more than a certain threshold, at which they might have a good argument for Article 78 and cause them damages.
Okay.
So there is some point in their process at which they have more rights than we do.
So the next step after ZBA, suppose ZBA says it's allowable. Then what is the
Then-
next step?
Well, then they would be pursuing a building permit and converting the building and installing it.
Hmm.
Back with the servers.
and then in theory, we can't. I mean, once it goes through. And we get to that point in the future, there's precedent, so it'd be very hard to keep this from not being a common thing. We wouldn't have legal precedent to say no to the next one, correct?
And this applicant is very inspired, very motivated to move quickly. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're already in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we missed the boat if we don't do something about this before the 6th. So my suggestion is we schedule a special meeting for August 1st at 6 o'clock, to hold a public hearing on this.
August 1st.
Yeah. So that should give enough time to publish and. And there's also a mechanism in this for the I know we actually did one for solar facilities, and we had a waiver mechanism. So if there's a waiver mechanism in here in the moratorium, then is there one in there? Jump to hardship use. This might be the hardship use variance. Yeah, that would be the hardship use variance section. The town board.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a town board. Which is what, under this, when we did this one for the solar.
We had a provision in that moratorium specifically for an application process for a waiver,
Yeah,
so I don't see that in here.
well, this has the process for a hardship use variance.
Yeah. And maybe that is exactly the waiver process we had in the solar law.
It
It's always been doing
seems,
during the terminology waiver, but could be just this.
Is this gonna affect any of our grants with the Climate Smart Community Task Force? It won't, okay.
Okay, let's pump the brakes and do this. I probably can't be here on August 1st, so I have a medical procedure.
Yeah.
That day.
maybe we can pick a different day. I'm not, if you wanted to be here for it, too. Just. This, I mean, the 30th would be fine.
Well, we could generate it tomorrow. As far as getting a notice in, basically 2 weeks is enough time to notice it. Well, that's true, but we have been pretty consistently 10 days, so getting it to the journal 2 weeks in advance for publishing 10 days in advance.
So this is just be a hearing on this one topic, and if
Yep.
anyone shows up,
Yep.
anyone shows up, it's a pretty quick hearing.
Yep. Yeah,
So to confirm the date,
30th would be fine also. And I,
In the evening,
You guys have a preference between 30th, 31st?
I work nights, both nights, so it doesn't matter.
yeah,
can't be here.
we can't do the 29th or the 31st because of the court. So,
I can do it 30th, I can do it any of the days that week.
okay. Well, yeah, you think people would- Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if we want to do the 31st, Caldwell
let's
room
do
is
that.
fine. Yeah, let's do that then.
31st.
31st, but in the Caldwell room.
Okay.
I mean, if we get loaded with people, we just have them come in and give comments,
Mhm.
and then,
Okay.
yeah.
So not here, we're doing it at the village?
Caldwell.
No, in the Caldwell room.
Okay,
Yeah. Do what? I'm gonna,
Yeah, let's do five.
I have a trial on 31st. It's just, I'm not gonna be done till 4:30 probably. So 5, I mean, earliest I can get here is probably 5:30 on 31st.
What time?
5:30.
5:30? 5:30 on the 31st.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. So, just read it in. Or- Yeah, so the resolution introducing proposed local law affecting a moratorium on commercial cryptocurrency mining operations and data processing centers. Whereas board desires to hold a public hearing with respect to the adoption of said local law. Now therefore be resolved that a public hearing will be held by the town board of the town of Dryden. With respect to the adoption of the aforesaid local law on July 31st, 2024 at 5:30 PM. Or soon thereafter as may be heard and further resolved, town clerk is hereby authorized as directed to cause public notice of said hearing to be given as provided by law. So I'll move this resolution.
Second,
Yes.
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 Yes. Well, thanks. And then we're just up to the board updates, if you wanna. Starting with Leo. Let's go down the line. Yep. We're up to the board update, so if you wanna we'll just go down the line, so you're up first. You're on deck.
I returned to, and so, I think last week we mentioned, at the end of the meeting that we were going to be engaging, the Cornell Co-op extension, half for, special energy, I can't remember now what the actual, but anyway, we ended up scaling down to simply an agreement, sort of a case study that will involve weatherization of 10 units. 5 will be within the hillside acres, and 5 from non-mobile house park housing of units. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that the entire selection will be done by a team comprised of 2 members of the Hillside Acres, mobile house park, who are also members of the board of the Varna Community Center board. Harrison from the Cornell Co-op extension, in charge of the mobile housing weatherization program, and Chuck Geisler from the committee. And the reason we do that is because the MAU will take hold a lot of issues. Some of them need to be dealing with legal counsel and so forth, and instead we are doing this so we can learn through this smaller program. And post demo, the MO, the memorandum of understanding, and developing perhaps a memorandum later on organically from our own learning through this experience. So basically it's gonna be, we hope this is gonna be done. Starting most likely September, this year. And so we'll have a good amount of information, hopefully by the end of this year, the beginning of next year. And so this is a project again that we hope to get your blessings from the town board. And it's a substantial help for for Maury Park House residents. And it should be supported in my opinion. We may be involved perhaps later on once we sort of expand the program and supporting through publicity and so forth, but at the moment it will be just 10 houses, 10 units, I should say. That's all. That's the main project that we are going to be involved. We have other stuff going on. We already learned that the potential project with the dormitories from TC3 is not going to happen very soon. So instead, we are focusing our attention to perhaps another study on the possibility of developing the NYSEG building as a housing building. So, so we are going to be looking into getting some monies, applying for monies for the housing recovery funds. I think the county funds.
Okay.
And so you will be hearing more as we work along these lines. So that's basically the two projects.
Would NYSEG have to show interest prior to starting?
That's part of I guess part of our inquiry is precisely learning whether they have any plans with it and whether they will be interested in learning about it.
They've been like a sphinx the last 8 years.
I
Every
love-
time I bring it up to them,
Yeah.
They say, oh, that sounds interesting, and then
Yeah.
let us get back to you, and then it's crickets.
I love that building. Just for the record, I love that building architecturally. So I hope something amazing can happen with it. It sounds exciting.
That's
Should
our-
approach it like that. We
Yeah, I do.
Except. We want to learn more.
Fabulous architecture.
Well,
I've told them it'd be a great place for senior housing,
Yeah,
and I meant it.
maybe
And they say, "Oh, great idea.
Yeah.
maybe mix sort of
I would suggest no study
Makes
unless they say we're interested in a study.
absolutely. That's something of something on process of plan.
Right.
Yeah, I mean. You have to talk to, I guess, their real estate office. To find out where they're at, because last I heard a couple of years ago that. The head, the home office in Spain and literally has no idea what they even have there,
Right.
so.
And they're using the adjacent structure.
Yeah,
I think it's a very exciting idea.
so.
Great looking.
We'll see. We're all excited about it. We
Yeah,
don't know whether that.
Well, there's all the-
or not.
yeah, and the utilities are already there, so it's.
I hope so.
Well, the thing is, like, right at the end of that, the other end of the county always looked at is that vacant, we called it the Leonardo property, where it's across,
Yeah,
right?
not mine. probably.
Not mine, but it's like basically across from where the one of the self-storage.
Yeah.
Like just a little bit past that, and utilities, this water sewer utility ends where the self-storage is. There was a study the town actually helped pay for already about on the cost of extending a water sewer to that Leonardo property that was done, and we paid for half of it and the county paid for half. and this is, when the people who own the property. They didn't ask us to do that. We did it anyway, so we paid for a study for someone else's private property to find out what it would cost to run stuff there. But they've never.
They've been non-responsive.
They've been non-responsive, so. In any case, we don't have to do a study like that for NICEAG, it's all there already.
It's already.
Yeah, so. So we just gotta get them to let us do something else.
Okay.
Which is fine, I think anyone that's ever sat here has said, yes, let's do it. So, a long time ago, I know we got a tour of it, like back when Mary Ann was here and Joe Solomon, and like 3 of us went on a tour in that building. They have a great auditorium, it holds like 1,000 people. It's huge.
Oh, yeah, I love that building.
It was their headquarters.
Yeah.
So there's an entire commercial kitchen. Yeah, there's a whole floor. It's an entire cafeteria with a full kitchen.
It really would be
And
an amazing.
The basement where they used to do their billing. They had all the billing printers. And it's a bomb shelter. So yeah, if you're into, the TV show Fallout, you can.
It really would be a great assisted living facility.
Well. We're hoping for something you can do that.
Yeah.
There's a huge shortage of that too.
Anyway,
Next year is needed next year.
Yeah,
had this conversation too many times. I hope something happens.
yeah.
Hey, we are going again.
Yeah, I've been reaching out to Kevin recently just to facilitate that, so hopefully
Yeah.
we'll get some more responsiveness on our part. Because I got the whole thing designed out in my head of, rooftop pizzeria, theater down below and senior housing above, and
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Plenty of room for buses.
But no quick
turnarounds, T-cat turnaround space.
There's big parking lot up there.
And it's really awesome architecture.
All right, moving along here.
It's an architecture.
Yes, there was no conservation board this month, so I have no update. There's just a lot of loss.
Yeah. Is that why it was canceled? Because.
I cannot confirm the
Okay.
exact reason, just I know that there was a lot of heartstrings.
Yeah.
Amongst the team.
No.
Yeah.
Climate Smart. We have an update for the DPW office building. The contractors finally began preliminary work. So he's doing the envelope sealing and window replacement, and he's also going to replace an older door. And then they've also reached out to the heat pump contractor to get him to schedule that. The Town of Dryden bronze recertification was announced publicly by DEC on June 27th, and we're already planning for our silver certification, hopefully within a year.
Oh, nice.
We were already bronze, right?
Yeah,
So it's recertification?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
We got like 800 points for recertifying. The climate change and resilience plan, the CCARP, hopefully we'll vote on the final version at our September meeting, and then we'll forward it to the town board to accept it. Maybe that month or the next month. And then we're still trying to find the best use for the $185,000, the grant money that we got for all of our points. Still at the top of the list is doing energy upgrade studies at some or all of the 4 fire stations. Even if we do all 4, we'll still have some money left over.
Okay.
Okay. So I was out of town, who attended the planning board?
Tina did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I forgot those notes. I'm sorry.
I was busy breaking my neck, so.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a good meeting.
I don't know, I mean, I kind of.
Did you attend in person?
No, I was on Zoom,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was there for the whole thing.
They're always entertaining.
They are, no,
You attend quite a bit.
I like them. They're very interesting. Oh,
Were they talking about manure?
wait, didn't we talk about that? No, we didn't talk about it
Yeah,
then.
talking about the manure facility.
Wait, Ray was there. Do you remember what we talked about?
I would have to go back and look at the agenda.
I know, I have to look at I'll write something up. I'll go back to my notes. I did take notes, so. I know we talked about Freeze Road.
Yeah, the development,
Yeah,
INHS project, okay.
Because the planning board is actually going to hold a public hearing. It's not a requirement for public hearing, but the site plan review, it's discretionary. So they're holding one for the INHS project this month, the next Thursday night.
It looks like more about the Morris Road Solar and the Caswell Road Solar Project.
Although Caswell Road is on hold right now. The Morris
That's
Road
right.
is proceeding, so the potential is for the planning board to be done with Morris Road next Thursday night, and then they'll be passing it to the town board.
Rail Trail, we had a great meeting. It was a retreat more than a typical meeting, and it was facilitated by our acting chair, Alice Green. And we're really trying to unpack what roles the former chair did, Bob Beck, the late Bob Beck, and figure out how to volunteerize so much of what he did. Because he was a one-man shop in many regards, and we were great beneficiaries of that, but now we have to figure out how to keep the work going, now that we don't have one person doing most of it. So it was kind of like a wake-up call for a lot of the people on the board that we have to have active subcommittees. The subcommittees have to take on work that Bob was previously doing and report out every month and make sure that they have meetings and advance things like easements or grant applications or trail maintenance issues and liaison with Rick and other groups. And I think we're going to have a new resolution that I'll probably present at the next meeting for authorizing the committee and a new membership structure. We're gonna revise what I had originally drafted back in April of 2016, which drew members from ag and members from conservation, members from planning, and we just don't need that sort of mandatory membership anymore. We need a different structure. And we have enough obligations of our advisory board members as it stands. Asking them to attend another meeting is not a good treatment of our current advisory board members, so.
We need to put out a call for more volunteers.
I think so, and I could see putting that call on the rail trail, because we got a lot of users and they probably don't really understand who's building it and how they can get involved. And I think probably a sign at a couple of our kiosks saying, like what you're using, get involved.
Yep.
And I think there are people out there that we haven't tapped into yet. But I think there was recognition that this is a major project that's almost entirely volunteer driven. A lot of help from Ray and Rick.
Yeah.
And Amanda. But a lot of it, tracking the easements has been something that none of us would ever had time to do. So anyway, very productive meeting. It was long, but we got through a lot.
we did talk about manure at the planning.
Yeah.
It wasn't here. It was in that meeting.
Yeah,
We're getting a manure compost
well,
facility up on 13. That was pretty interesting. I didn't know such a thing existed, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's like a composting toilet, right?
Not quite.
No,
no, it's, it's, not quite.
yeah, I know. My mom just went there. Anyway, over to ag.
On that note,
Speaking of a lot of crap we were talking about. Ching, boom, no. That came up at the ag meeting because Craig Anderson. Came to present I guess. The ag committee with some of the discussion that went on at the planning board about it. Because what we ended up talking about is what really qualifies for the protection of ag and markets, which at least for this particular question was actually answered by ag and markets.
okay.
Where, and what they stated is simply that if it is a facility, if it were just simply a facility for the single farm, it would be exempt from zoning, but once you start turning it into, like I say, regional processing facility. It's not exempt.
Right,
And Ag and Market doesn't get the protection from Ag and Markets.
okay.
Craig didn't really agree with that. It was, so just, that's. But that came actually directly from Ag and Markets folks who emailed the town after, I think Joe Wilson and someone else on the plan actually emailed Ag and Markets about it.
Yeah, Crystal,
Yeah.
CCE emailed Jeff
Yeah.
Deal at Ag and Markets to get
Yeah.
his take on it, and he responded.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
And then there was even, we got back to even, so there was a good long discussion, and even some of the members of the Ag committee were. Saying, well, does everything count as a farm? And it got into that discussion again, but they're gonna be involved in the zoning. Rewrite, just because there are some things that they're. I guess they say weren't addressed. The last time we did the zoning rewrite, was a long time ago. About. Bringing certain things in I guess, in line with what Ag and Markets defines. So they'll. I know I just remind them to get involved with that process, because otherwise. It might get, things might get, that they're concerned about might get overlooked, so. So, and then, we heard from David about broadband, but. Yeah. That's, I don't really know if I could add anything to that, except that one of the. We're so, I guess, widely known with what we're doing now. One of the lawyers I had, who's on the other side in the case I had in Tioga County, and the guys from Portland.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're that guy. Fiber guy. So, yeah, so we're making waves around the area, which is good. And then the ROIC, so they're getting inquiries into the RFP. They might need to extend the date to accept I guess bids on it.
How many?
I think there's been 2 or 3. Yeah, there's been at least 2. We had one who I don't know if they're still gonna bid on it. And I think there were 2 others. But some people have been writing in just saying that because of the time of year with people on vacation. So they, but the ROIC meets next week. So I think that's gonna come up in the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, the last meeting was right after we had approved it. So I've just been looking at the emails, and that's one issue that's been coming up, is that some planners are saying that they, because people are on vacation. Yeah, they'd want more time.
Can you remind me of the days of those meetings?
The RYC meeting,
Yeah,
it's the 4th Wednesday of the month.
okay.
August 4th? Oh,
No, this one will be on the. It's next Wednesday, which is the
Third.
24th. So
24th,
it's July 24th, yeah,
and it is,
at 7 o'clock in the conference room. So. But it's every month, it's the 4th Wednesday at 7 o'clock in the Caldwell Conference Room.
It's a busy day.
I didn't have anything else, so. Guess somebody's got something. Double check with Zoom.
Good adjourn.
Yep, no one on Zoom, so unless, and Dave Durant's a recorder, right?
Thanks.
Yep. Okay, all set. That's you. Oh, it's not you. So.